But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Good morning, all. I'm going to start with 3 words. Bruno, Bruno, Bruno. What a performance from the Brazilian international. Absolutely superb. Mick, good morning. Welcome.
Happy days. 2 words from me. Happy days.
Fantastic, mate. Yeah, not the greatest of games, it's got to be said. I won't be sitting watching that one back. I'm telling you that for certain. I don't think I'll be replaying Chris Wood's penalty time and time again over the next 20 years with the box set. But I tell you what, it's every bit as important as David Kelly's goal, I guess, against Portsmouth. Way back in time, it's got the same kind of significance. Although David's meant a lot more to keeping us away from that dreaded 3rd division, which Sunderland live in these days. But it was important because it stopped the rot. 3 defeats. Which we expected. I've got to be honest. Chelsea, Everton, Tottenham. In recent years, we haven't done well down there. Full stop. Anyway, but to get back to St James's Park to see War Flags doing such a wonderful display, and then ultimately Newcastle getting out and doing business, digging in deep, defending, and ultimately getting the goal that counted and winning 1-0.
Yeah, you sort of took all my words, really. I mean, 100%. It was all about the win. It wasn't about the performance. It was an awful game of football. We were very, very grateful to Wolves, who were Wolves must have probably been as bad as they've been all season. They were absolutely atrocious on occasions. So thank you very much to Wolverhampton Wanderers. But we just needed to grind it out, and we did grind it out, as you say, courtesy of a penalty, which was helpful to Chris Wood. And as a result, I mean, I don't think seriously we were still in major danger, I have to say. I must admit, I know a lot of people got excited about the Tottenham defeat, but at the end of the day, Tottenham were 4th in the Premier League, and we were 6th bottom. And I'm sorry, to use the boxing analogy, you don't go toe to toe week in, week out if you're Newcastle at this minute in time with teams who are 4th in the Premier League table. It just doesn't happen. And sometimes you will get beaten by 5-1. So I didn't worry. In the slightest about Tottenham. And prior to that, I was pretty happy with Chelsea, and I was pretty happy with the first half against Everton as well. So as you say, in stats wise, it was 3 straight defeats, but it didn't feel like, the end of the world. Do you know what I'm saying? It didn't feel like the end of the world. What I did say up until the day yesterday was if we'd lost at Wolves and not even got a draw against Wolves, then I would have rattled a bit. Then I would have worried about Leicester, and I would have worried about Crystal Palace, because after Leicester, Crystal Palace, it does get very, very difficult. So even at 0-0 last night, I was quite happy with 0-0. It was an awful game. I couldn't see Wolves scoring. I really couldn't. I thought, well, do we win it? Do we draw it? Whatever we do. Either way, I was quite happy. We've managed to squeak a penalty. We've won it 1-0. And I think that's pretty much that. And when you made a very good point there, because I made the point myself last night. When you think about how bad it is, and you think about how difficult it's been for the last few months, etc., just think about the confidence that was brought with that survival season from the 2nd into the 3rd division. We went from avoiding relegation from the 2nd division. We still had to go another step into Premier League promotion, and then had another level to try and be a contender in the Premier League. We're going to jump one step, and yet in 3 years under KK, we were almost Premier League winners. So hopes and dreams are, as I mentioned last week, are beginning to just under the level a little bit. They are beginning to nestle.
Tom says Bruno was man of the match. I don't think anybody will argue about that one today. Have we had a midfielder as good as him? Cabaye and Speed were both stylish. I
mentioned Cabaye and Speed, yeah.
But Bruno also has outrageous skills, which he uses to do normal stuff perfectly.
Do you know the funny thing though, Steve? I remember when we did the podcast after the Everton game, and I was absolutely wowing about him first half against Everton. I thought he was brilliant, and I talked about that little head-to-head he had with the young Everton boy that evening at Goodison. I thought he was better first half against Everton than he was 90 minutes last night. And I do think, and one of the reasons for that is, I think sooner rather than later we can talk about that today, or we can leave it for another day, because it's going to become a major issue to my mind further on down the line, is how do we play Bruno and Shelvey game in, game out? I think at this minute in time, when we're all about surviving, we're all about making sure we put top players in the positions that we've got them and the numbers of top players. But I do think, and I do increasingly think, that they're two very, very similar. They're very similar. All the information I heard about Bruno is that he's a fabulous player, and he is a fabulous player. He passes the ball, he's clever, he works the ball well, but he doesn't carry the ball. He doesn't carry it. He doesn't score your goals. He's not going to pick the ball. I mean, even Cabaye was a bit more attack-minded than Bruno Guimaraes. Shelvey's the same player. There were a couple of times last night when I thought, if I really desperately needed to win the game last night, and Wolves were very, they were there. They were there for the taking, Wolverhampton Wanderers. I just wanted, this might sound stupid, but I wanted to leave out one of Shelvey and change it, or one of Bruno. You couldn't have done Bruno. No. And then needed somebody like Sean Longstaff or somebody to start carrying the ball, somebody to run at the ball with Wolves. While we were playing 4-3-3, and as we are at this moment in time, 2 of our 3 are pretty much staying in and around either your back 4 or your halfway line. We need somewhere down the line. When we get a little bit more attack-minded, when we get a bit more speculative about what we do with oppositions, and we haven't got that survival, then I think somewhere down the line, he's got to have a tinker with John Joe Shelvey and Bruno.
I think you're right. I think it was a deliberate ploy last night to stamp.
Absolutely.
We've just come off a 3-game away run, come back with no points, and then we got a humping at Spurs, which was a complete overreaction to. You're completely right on social media. But the game plan last night was very clear. And even though they were missing their key danger men up front,
yes, they were.
It really reflected. I think it was a sign of respect from Eddie Howe to Wolves and the manager, because I think he felt that there was still a threat, there was still a danger. They're well drilled, they know their jobs, and they're no mugs. And like we preempted before the game yesterday. Wolves' record speaks for itself at St James's Park. Yes. They are party poopers. They spoil the game up here, and they set the stall out for a draw.
And away from goal, and away from home this season. They'd won 8 games away from home this season. Yeah. The reason that Wolves are in the position they were in up until yesterday, where they were still at the first whistle last night, they were still in contenders of 4th in the Champions League. They had the best away record of the division. They sort of started out trying to do what Newcastle did for Tottenham, which was basically just try and kill the game. But the difference was they couldn't keep the ball. They just kept giving us the ball away. So, yeah, Wolves were very poor. But at the end of the day, regardless of whether they played well or they didn't play well, the one thing that Wolves did do last night, as far as Newcastle are concerned, is that they provided us opposition for the first time to win a game in the top half of the table. And again, psychologically, going back to that, there's no point being toe-to-toe with Man United, with Manchester City. There's no point going head-to-head with. We did very well at Chelsea. But lost. Exactly the same at Liverpool. Exactly the same. The top teams, we cannot compete with them. But we did very well at West Ham. We did very well, if you'll remember, Manchester United with the draw, which we should have won at St James's in December, which actually started the whole momentum. And now we've got Wolverhampton Wanderers, and we've beaten a top half team. So when you sort of look, when you take out the top 4 and 5, when you suddenly look at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I'm not sure we're not an awful million miles away. I really am not. You look at the table now, we're only 3 points away from Crystal Palace in 9th, and we play Crystal Palace in a fortnight's time. So, as you said, it's a bit roller coaster. It's a bit swings and roundabouts. It's very concertinaed, that Premier League. You take the top 3 out and it's pretty much dead and buried. You took the bottom 3 with the exception of Everton. The rest of it is just like a concertina. It's like an accordion. Everybody is much of a muchness. So where we end up, I don't know. What will be interesting as well is, and I heard an interesting interview, a couple of interviews he did after the game last night, Eddie Howe, talking about, do you think once we get into a position where presumably mathematically we're definitely playing Premier League football next season, does he open the shackles? Does he think about maybe go 4-4-2, maybe not play the 3 at the back? I don't know. There are all sorts of options he's got available to him, and that is for another 2 or 3 weeks. But it will be interesting. And another thing I thought about this morning, if you remember going back to Eddie Howe, and I had no reason to suggest that I thought he was going to be a world beater. I had no reason to suggest he wouldn't do the job well. But what the rumour was, or certainly what the pundits from the southeast of England seemed to persist of, was that defensively, he wasn't the best coach in the world, and that Bournemouth did have problems defensively in terms of weaknesses. Now, he's completely bucked the trend on that one. The one thing that we have done in order to survive out of Premier is not the fact that we've suddenly gone gung-ho and started beating teams 4-3 and 3-2 and 5-4. What we've started doing during December is beat teams 1-0, is draw 0-0, is draw 1-1, is win 2-1. We can't score goals to save our lives. We can't. We really are struggling with goals. But allegedly, a coach and a manager in Eddie Howe, who a lot of people said wasn't the best defensive coach in the business, has done absolutely amazingly well. When you compare that team, which was like a primary school jumpers in playgrounds every week for about 2 years, we were getting beat 3s, 4s and 5s left, right and centre. So fair play to Eddie Howe with that.
Yeah, well played to Eddie Howe, and it was a hard-earned 3 points, but a welcome 3 points, and very happy fan base this morning. Tom also makes the point about the flags. I mean, the flags were great yesterday. At times, I've got to be honest, the atmosphere was quite quiet, subdued. But there's no excuse for people stealing the flags. I still don't understand this. I can only think that there's a majority of these people are just ignorant of the fact that these flags aren't to take away. In the past, there's been flag displays with people at clubs maybe where you can take the flag home, but it should be blatantly obvious that if there's a 20-foot flag on a pole, it's not really for you to take home on the Met Room, is it?
Yeah. I agree. Absolutely, not 100%, 500%. I'll go on to a post I put on last night. But my two best pictures, my two favourite pictures, prior and during the game last night. One was Mehad Gadusi with the black and white flag stood in the directors. I mean, how does that juxtaposition to Mike Ashley? How do you compare one owner with another owner standing there with a flag? And you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me, and I love Graham Souness, but Souness, when he was in Turkey, walked the flag onto the centre circle and stuck the flag in the Istanbul derby and absolutely rode the place up, and it was a bit like that. But just prior to the fact that he picked up his flag in his seat, Mehad Gadusi, he'd gone down on the touchline and done a picture with the war flags. So all the people from war flags, there's a group picture of him on the touchline with them. Again, that is absolutely magnificent communication. And I'll tell you why, because these people are almost like a 12th player at this manner in time. It's incredible. And I said on the tweet, the new owners have done fantastically well and have done great things for the playing side of the things at Newcastle United. But what they've done, more importantly, they have restored dignity to and absolutely bouncing St James's Park, because that atmosphere now, the reason we are survive and are going to survive at this minute in time, Steve, is that is 4 straight home wins. 4 straight home wins. You know, we've just lost 3 on the bounce. We need to get back there as a team, as a coach, as a manager, as an ownership. It's in their nature to bring back St James's Park into the passion and the dignity and the pride that it had all those years. And that is down to War Flags. Yes, it's not just to them, but the owners have almost been the catalyst for them. And I'm sure financially they've helped War Flags, but I'm telling you, what War Flags have done. You know, I was watching the TV last night. Jamie Carragher, a die-in-the-wool Scouser. All he kept talking about was the flags. Look at the flags. And that's before the game starts. You know, War Flags. I mean, if as I say, there was a prize at the end of the season for Player of the Year, Goalkeeper of the Year, Goal Scorer of the Season, I would give 12th Man of the Season to War Flags. I would give them an award because they do it. Honestly, this is the thing. They do it off their bat. They don't do it for financial gain. They do it because they love that football club. War Flags, absolutely, honestly, brilliant.
Yeah, they do it all out of their own pocket. There has been in the past offers of finance, but they do it themselves, and that's the best way. Terry says, watching your dad waving the flag last night made me realise how lucky we are to have these owners. They get the fans, and this journey is going to be amazing. And Geordie Tune for Life, just getting back to what we were talking about earlier, says, Mick, you're looking for the name Paqueta. He's a real number 10, always looking forward. I watched him against West Ham on Thursday. He's a good player, but Leon have many good players in midfield. And yeah, Paqueta's been linked. I mean, it was a tenuous link. It was a little byline, and it just seems to have grown. I think there is a feeling that amongst the fan base, that might be a direction Newcastle could or should look in, and get another Brazilian in.
Well, as I say, I mean, this is, I just said between you and I, should we talk about Shelvey and Bruno, or should we leave it for another time? I mean, if just the conversation between now and the end of the season, it'll be interesting for people, for fans, to talk about Bruno versus Shelvey. In terms of who we might get involved with, who we might sign, who we might be interested in. I mean, the world is potentially your oyster. I mean, we could be in a position where, there could be we don't know. We don't know if there were people who were put to one side at January. I mean, I certainly thought at one point, at least one of the centre halves, I thought had sort of been put on a pre-contract in terms of the summer because they weren't signed in January. But you don't know. But again, going back to 1992, 93, 94, when the snowball started rolling, there was no name, there was nothing that was beyond the realms of possibility. The Tinos of this world, Shearer as a world record breaker, all sorts of things. You just don't know what's possible, and that, to be honest, at this minute in time, is probably going to have to wait until May onwards. In the meantime, I think it'll just be quite interesting, because at the end of the day, once we get survived, if we're not survived already, we need to have a look at who is going to be surplus to requirements. And the only way you can do that really is change the way that they're playing at this minute in time. I mean, you see, ASM, there was an awful lot of what he did tonight drove you crackers. And there was a lot tonight, a lot of last night that you think, would you sign him? Would you sell him? But at the same time, you cannot get away from the fact that the guy has a talent, a huge talent, a massive talent. Yes, he sticks one over the crossbar from 6 yards and you think, oh, no, Yes, he runs down cul-de-sacs. Yes, he falls over. Yes, he does that. Yes, he does that. But he gets you off the edge of your seat. He also keeps an eye on opponents. They're wondering what they're going to do. It's just about harnessing. I honestly think, there are times when I think, okay, do we, don't we? Do we keep him? Do we not keep him? But honestly, if we can harness him, he is such an enigma. He really is. You know, there are others certainly not so, but I think, you know, Saint-Maximin, even was as frustrating as he was last night, I think you've got to stick with him. You've got to keep with him.
You've read my mind, as has Paul Patterson. Controversial topic as always, but someone who divides the room is Maximin, an excellent flick aside. He was frustratingly awful last night. How does Howe get the best out of him? I've got to be honest, I would sell him in the summer. If £50 million is on the table from anybody, I would sell him. I do not think. I don't think we'll get that, Steve. I don't think we'll get that. I think part of the problem is that I'm not saying he's not damaged goods, but his inconsistency has become progressively more and more, and not just from us, but from others who were potentially buying him. Because, you know, it's like every footballer, you know, if there's a talent there, you think, okay, give him 6 months, it'll get better, it's going on, but there's still that level of inconsistency. So I agree with you. I mean, I could toss it a coin, but I still at this minute in time would say yes, keep him. I sat and spoke to the guy who sits next to us. We've sat together, you know, for many years now, and we were discussing the whole Saint-Maximin thing. And I think, you know, we've both been on that journey together where, you know, sometimes we think, yeah, he's worth persevering with. You know, somebody said there, you know, who gets you up the pitch, who gives you that bit of a attacking option, but he gives the ball away, he misplaces passes, and ultimately for me, I just think that there's better out there, and I think Newcastle will look at that. But there is a lot of work to be done in this transfer window. John Joe Shelvey is not the future of Newcastle United.
No,
he will tell you that himself. Miguel Almiron might have had a good game last night. He's not the future of Newcastle United. And I could run off a whole host of them. I mean, obviously.
I mean, the strange thing about last night, when we're talking about, I mean, this is the other thing about ASM. What is he? That's the other problem. What is he? Is he a winger? Is he a midfield player? Is he a goal scorer? What is he? Now, going back to my thoughts last night about Shelvey and Bruno. So then you think to yourself, okay, because we're playing 4-3-3. If we played 4-4-2, could you then, because you've got an extra body in midfield, could you say to yourself, we'll play Shelvey and Bruno in centre mid, and we play with two wide men? We haven't got consistently good enough wide men. And ironically, the guy who's turned out to be the best in the last 6 months or so, who has at least got a brain in his head and knows exactly what is required of a proper winger who can cross a ball, can deliver a ball, works hard, does the sorts of things that proper wingers do, is Ryan Fraser. And Ryan Fraser gets a hamstring injury, which may well never play again for the rest of the season. I mean, I don't know. But if it's a tear and it didn't look the best in the world, it'll certainly be a few weeks. So therefore, if you're then left at the availability of two wingers, if you want to play 4-4-2 with Bruno and Shelvey in the middle, you have to play with Almir on one side and ASM on the other side. And I'm sorry, that's about as much use as a chocolate fire guard. It really is, honestly. It's like a chocolate kettle, because you've got no idea. There's no consistency in there. There's no thought process. You don't know what ASM's going to do. You don't know what Almiron's going to do. So you can't play as two wingers in the strictest sense of the word, which is why I think for a lot of the games, as well as the fact that you're trying to protect the rest of the side, he's gone with this 4-3-3. But if he's going to change it at some point, and then, of course, we've got to come round to who's our centre forward, because our centre forward scores a penalty last night. Everybody tells me he had balls of steel. Everybody tells me, you know, good old Chris Wood. I'm sorry, that's 2 of 13 or whatever it is. He never looked anywhere near like scoring a goal all evening. The lad's not in a very good place at this minute in time. Yes, you could argue going back to the Almiron and ASM evidence and the fact that both Bruno and Shelvey are playing a long way away from him, maybe he doesn't get the opportunities. But either way, in terms of a centre forward, Gale's not scored a goal all season. Callum Wilson is still our top scorer with 6 goals this season, and he hasn't kicked a ball for half the game.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, some of the comments coming in. ASM has 2 or 3 players on him, also leaves space for others, would rather keep him than not, says Graham. Geordie Tuvalay says ASM is a player you could give a massive cuddle to, and then seconds later you want to punch him. It's a bit severe. Alan Thompson says, Stephen Mick, all I can say is when you talk to opposition fans, they all say ASM is some footballer. With better players around him, I think he would be a better player. And John, going off on the Bruno tangent, says, Mick, how on earth did we sign Bruno? He's class. He gave up Champions League football and a lifestyle in Lyon for a new life in the northeast of England, and our fans don't forget that sort of thing. Which is
the best bit I like about him, and I've never met the fella, I've never seen him close at hand, but I just love his attitude as well. I don't know if you noticed. I was only watching the TV when he got subbed at the end. He went me, and you knew exactly what was happening, and it was a fantastic piece of psychology on Eddie Howe's part. What Eddie Howe was doing was, I'm sending you off here for 5 minutes left so that 52,000 people can give you the most love that you'll ever get in your life in a football field. And that's all he was doing. He was bigging up Bruno, and he was doing him for all the right reasons. And yet Bruno, all he wanted to do was say, hey, let me on for another 5. Let me on for another 7. I'm not coming off. My team's only 1-0 up. At the end, if you watched him at the Gallagher after the penalty, he's trying to grab at the fans. He's trying to grab at the flags. He's trying to grab at opposition. Oh, the guy's attitude. Long may it continue, but he's been absolutely a diamond so far.
That little boy will never forget Bruno's, celebration with him when Chris Wood scored the penalty, and he ran to the Gallagher end and he went and picked some ball boy.
Did he?
Up and,
right.
Yeah, fantastic. If I'm not sure whether the camera picked it up.
Didn't see it on the camera, no.
I think he was a ball boy anyway, but no, it was fantastic.
Wasn't Shearer, was it?
No. Ashley says, Mick, the debate about Maxi will continue. He frustrates me, but get quality around him and teams won't know which way to turn. And Dan says his demands are Messi-style tension from teams. He doesn't have the consistent ability to punish them for it. Better players will either make him step up or finish him off. Chris Wood, I agree with you. Mick Wood is hopeless, says Keith. I'm not having it with Wood again. He's good for now. Put it that way. Chris Wood tries his best. He can't do more. And you know what? For to have a goal shot, I was gutted for him last night. I really was. And I'll tell you, there was more than 5 or 6 people I bumped into pre-match who all had Wood first goal last night. So I know a lot of people had a bit of faith.
That's called blind faith, by the way, mate.
It was blind faith, yeah. But they'll have all had a pint on Chris Wood last night.
Yeah, that's true.
But fair play to him. After having that goal chalked off, the despondency of the bad run that he's been in, all strikers have bad runs, to actually stand at the Gallagher end in front of 52,000 people, all, with a high percentage of them covering their eyes because they think you're going to miss. He struck that penalty calmly, coolly, and he got the 3 points. And for me, for his work rate in the 9-match unbeaten run alone, Chris Wood deserved that moment last night.
I've said it 10 times, I've said it 20 times. I agree 100%. And at the other end of the day, I always used to say, if my gaffer came to me, or your gaffer came to you, or anybody listening to this as gaffer came to them and said, "Oh, we've had an offer from the shop down the road that wants to spend you 25 million. It's a bigger club. It's this, that, and the other. Do you want to do it?" Of course, you want to do it. You don't say, "Oh God, I don't think I could. It's a lot of pressure. It's this, it's that, it's the other." He got the opportunity to go and play for Newcastle United. Yes, he got £25 million, etc., etc. But he had to do what he had to do. And he's tried his damnedest. Now, yes, he's only scored 2 goals, but that goal tonight is a huge goal. Talk about the David Kellys or whoever. there are important games. And yet, yes, I must admit, I was one of probably many who said, "Oh, should he be taking the pen? Do we not give this to Shelby? Do we not give this to Bruno?" But he's put the thing away. I'm told afterwards he's scored 23 out of 25 Premier League goals in his career, so he knows how to take a penalty as well. Eddie Howe, I think in his pre-match, said something like, I think there seemed to be a suggestion that it wasn't an absolutely spot on that he was going to take the penalty. I think the decision was made on the pitch on the night. But either way, he stuck it away. He's got a goal. And it might, like London buses, he might get 2 against Leicester next week, and he might get 2 against Crystal Palace the week after. And before you know it, it's a different ball game altogether. What I will say is, and I think you've said it in a roundabout way, if you ask me, do I think he will be our number 9? Do I think he will be our first choice centre forward this time next season? I really do not think so.
No, me neither. I think if you're a squad player next year, I think we will have brought in somebody else. And I think, Callum Wilson will hopefully be back to full fitness before the end of the season. Pablo Davies is all about levels and reaching an objective. Safety and progression. Wood is part of it, as are many. Alan Thompson says, did you notice when Wood scored the penalty, his performance improved 100% in the last 20 minutes? Goals breed confidence. It's as simple as that. Dan says, Wood as a fact has earned us 6 points and can be credited with way more because of his effort. He is worth every penny. I would agree. It was a good signing at the time for Newcastle. It's not a 20-goal striker.
It was also a needed. It was a needed. We need, and we've talked about this many times. He was a Premier League player. He knew the game, so you didn't have to worry about him coming from Slovakia or Sweden or France or wherever.
Wasn't a gamble.
Exactly. He is a proven, maybe not the most. Maybe underrated, maybe not the greatest Premier League goal scorer in the world, but was a Premier League goal scorer who works hard, who does things that maybe centre forwards who, stick outside the 6-yard box and touch the ball from 5 yards and score 30 goals. He does different things. And as you say, and as I've said all along, he was an integral part of that 9-game run where we won 6, drew 3, and essentially got ourselves in Premier League football next season. He's now on top of that at a time when it was just getting a little bit edgy, a little bit nervy. I'd take a point against Wolves. We get all 3 against Wolves. We're now pretty much done and dusted. And he scores the goal. Yes, it's a penalty. Yes, it's from only 12 yards, but he wins the penalty. So fair play to him. To him. But a bit like ASM. Is he here next season? Is he not next season? Who knows?
I will blow my own trumpet. I said on this show that Chris Wood would get a couple of match winners, and that would be vital for us in staying up. And on this occasion, I will say I told people so. There's a lot of people going, he won't, he's rubbish. But we've done a big thank you to Spider, Minor, worldwide coverage from the guys at Spider. They've been with us a long time. Big shout out to them. Thanks to skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, www.skipsandbins.com, easy pay and contract free waste collection. Also thanks to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 0191 389 7245, and to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.guhd.com. Thanks to Arcot Interiors, based on Heaton Road in Newcastle, and Google them, they come up at the top of the Google search list. Thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. Thanks to Cleekai, you can find them at Apple Store and Google Play. Meet the new game over screen. Drop into a Clean device near you. Cleanrun.game. Jab Signature. Find them at jabsignature.co.uk. Media Arts. Thanks for all your help with video work. And look at the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner. Click on that and you can subscribe for free to the channel. 7 shows a week still, and a little bit extra content as well. And you get a free car sticker. go to nufcmatters.com to claim your free car sticker if you are a subscriber. Hit the thumb up to like the video. It's very important. Click share to share to your social media and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans or to leave a question. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and on Spotify and on Podbean. It goes up usually within 24 hours of the show on YouTube. If you want to become a member, just hover your phone over the top of the QR code and it takes you straight to the website, and you get a pen, a scarf and a cup and a membership card and entry into the free monthly draw. Don't forget as well, we support the food bank on this channel, and all you need to do to make a virtual donation is stick that website into your browser and the jobs are good and you can make a virtual donation, and that really does help the food bank. I know that the lads were there last night. Hope they did very well indeed. Don't forget as well, you can pay on the door. Me, Holly, Malcolm and Gibbo will be at the Marlborough Social Club this afternoon. Show kicks off at about 12:30. So if you live local and you're looking for something to do this afternoon, get yourself along. The show will be finished around about 2:30. So if you want to go off and watch a non-league game, it won't interfere in that. Whilst the rest of us go to the pub and wish Stu Penman a happy birthday. And don't forget, the women are playing at St James's Park. The ladies team at Sunday the 1st of May. 2 o'clock kick-off. Tickets are £3 from all the usual places. You can buy your Newcastle United tickets. Get yourself along there and support that. It's a great opportunity to see the ladies team play. And don't forget as well, I did mention Spider-Miner earlier, but they are the only cryptocurrency miner that can mine 5 different cryptocurrencies at the same time, whilst virtually no energy, and it's VPN protected. Get yours now at www.miner.spidervpn.org. Thanks, lads, for supporting us, as I say, for the last couple of years. It's been very important. Okay, so
on the subject of birthday, by the way, congratulations at this minute in time to Stu Penman. So buy him a pint for me. But it was my birthday last week, and I'd just like to thank everyone for their wishes as well. So
yeah, we missed it with me being away. So happy birthday, belated. Did you do anything special, mate? Did you go out and have a meal or anything?
Well, I was going to go to Tottenham, wasn't I? I was going to go to Tottenham, but then I'm on the 2nd, and then Tottenham got moved to the 3rd, and it was late on the Sunday, so I decided to avoid the Spurs game. Oh, and because I'm going to Leicester, to the Leicester game this coming weekend. So no, but I was out and about. But yeah, but a lot of very nice and very kind messages. So thank you to anybody who said what they said and thanked what they thanked.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Just a little word on the foundation, Mick, as well, because that was the news that broke while I was away, and obviously we had a pre-recorded show that went out last week. So the foundation's done some great work in the city, and the unveiling of the new facility was quite special, and looks as if that's that's going to go on to do better work in the community.
Absolutely, and it is, it's a very different world. Funnily enough, I was thinking the other day about. It's all well and good me talking and waxing lyrical and you waxing lyrical about KK and 92, 93 and Sir John, and the fact that we were nearly in the old 3rd division and we survived, and then managed to get Premier League on 92, 93, then got it back into the Premier League. But you think about those days and you think about how much the world has changed. And then just as a slight tangent as well, I'd be interested to know how many people are for this and against this. But I'm not a great fan, although I will say something about last night. I'm not a great fan of these great dressing room celebratory pictures. So that every game we take this picture and they survive a game or they win a game and it looks like we're going to get closer and closer to and this celebration after celebration. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute. Once upon a time, again, going back in the day, you would do that dressing room celebration, that picture, if you were in an FA Cup, if you'd won a semi-final. And I'm just wondering, what do we do to celebrate? What do we do to celebrate the dressing room? Because dressing rooms, you keep them as sanctity, don't you? What happens in the dressing room, what gets done in the dressing room, what says in the dressing room stays in the dressing room. And yet now every game we celebrate and everybody, and I could see it, but at the same time, I do think to myself, what are we ever going to do if we win something properly, well, we're going, oh, there's another picture. There's another picture of them all in the dressing room. The one thing I would differ about last night, and this is very interesting, if anybody goes through all of these dressing room team pictures, and there must have been about, what have we had, maybe 10 since they started this in December or whatever it was, probably not as many as 10. But in every one of them previously, the players are jumping, Ray Thompson's jumping, Derek Wright's jumping, the doctor's jumping, everyone's jumping. There's been a fella in the back most of the games sitting like this, and that's Eddie Howe. Watch Eddie Howe tonight. and that picture, regardless of, as I've sort of knocked back at it, thinking it's getting a bit samey. When I saw Eddie Howe from that picture, have a look at it now. He's given it that, and I'm thinking he knew last night that was a huge win. That was the one that probably just clinches it. Just clinches the points that he needs to make sure that the last 7 games, 8 games, whatever, were okay. Going back to the foundation, I agree. That is almost part of it as well. Football clubs used to be football clubs, Steve. Football clubs are part of society now. It's all about society. It's not about, once upon a time, people used to work Monday to Friday, play hard, work hard, go to the match on a Saturday. It's different now. It's different. And what the foundation has to do, and what Newcastle United have to do, is they have to be part and parcel of the society. And you have to get involved with youngsters. You have to get involved with gender. You have to get involved with disability. You have to get involved with everything and everybody. And we're very good about that. The northeast of England is the best area in the country in terms of the way that it looks after one another. And looking at that new building, looking after these new owners, the northeast is absolutely tailor-made for something like that. And all I would say is get about and use it. Use it. Don't think that it's just a nice swanky building, and don't go and knock through the door. Go and see to them. Go and knock on the door. Say, what can you do for me? Because that's what it's there for. It's there for the people of the northeast of England. It's there for Newcastle upon Tyne. So fair play to them. And again, I'm not too sure whether this ownership actually started the ball rolling. I don't know. I don't know how involved they are. But whoever it is should be commended. And as a city, we should be very proud of the Newcastle United community people.
Yeah, 100%. Just want to finish up with this one. An interesting picture today on NUFC.com.
Is that you?
Well, I was going to ask, is this a relation of yours?
Maybe.
Thomas Lowes, spelt the correct way.
Yeah.
Born Walker.
Yeah.
In 1892. Played for Newcastle, 1910 to 1914. He was an inside forward acquired from Wallsend Park Villa for £25 in September 1910. Debuting in a 2-1 defeat at Preston some 15 months later. But he was an occasional first-team starter. Tommy's most prolific period in a black and white shirt saw him score 3 goals in as many games during January and February 1912.
You'd love it. I'll tell you not a funny story, but just an interesting story. And that is, and I was waiting to see whether you were going to ask me about the Grand National this afternoon.
Yeah, pick a winner.
Well, the thing is, it looks as open a Grand National as there's been for years and years. But there's a Fred in there. There's a Fred in there. And my dad, God rest his soul, who died a long time ago now, was Fred. But he was Fred Lowes, obviously, and there's a Lowes clan there in the northeast. So there's a northeast Lowes called Fred, who I would obviously have a bet in the national this evening. But going back to the Lowes thing, it won't be. I don't think it will be anybody related to me. But what I will tell you is, as a kid in Nottingham, as I'm now back here in the East Midlands, you remember those things that we used to have called, that youngsters won't remember these things. They were called telephone directories.
Yeah.
So you had a telephone directory that was about that thick, right, for the whole of the Nottinghamshire. Do you know how many Lowes there were? Us.
Really?
Seriously. I used to go. I went back to the north every time we went back to the northeast to visit the family, my dad's family, because my mum was from London. But I'd look at the dictionary and I'd say to my sisters, look how many losers they've got here. They've got loads of losers. And in fact, in terms of that, while I was working in the northeast, I can't remember, it was Belgium. It was one of the European trips. Fella came up to me and he said, Mick Lowe's? I said, yeah. He said, I'm Mick Lowe's. I said, what? He said, I'm Mick Lowe's. He said, you're Mick Lowe's. And there's lots of Mick Lowe's as well. So I don't know. I don't
Brilliant.
think he is. I don't think it. Anyway, my Lowsers are sort of County Durham way rather than Tyneside way.
Well, Tom Dixon's just picked my horse, the Two Amigos. I'm going to stick some money on the Two Amigos.
Oh, is there a Three Amigos? Is there?
There's a 2, so I'm going to go for that.
All right. I'll be with Fred. I can't remember the full name, but there's a Fred in there.
Right.
I just saw it quickly yesterday, so I will be Fred for the old man.
My other one's going to be Fiddler on the Roof, and that's 16-1, which Mike Gents got. So there's my 2 tips. Okay, I'm off to the Marlborough Social Club. You have a good day, Mick, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you face to face.
I can't wait to see the Leicester. And funnily enough, it'll be the first time I've been back at a game since the first day of the ownership against Tottenham, because of one thing and another, back in October, November. So I'm looking forward to it.
Have a good week, mate. Look forward to seeing you next week. Take care, pal.
Take care. Bye.